Hey guys, Rex here, and today, as you just saw, I have something very cool for you guys, and that is these locked dungeon chests. Now, these would be useful for all sorts of adventure maps, and it did take me quite a while to get it working just right. So, to use these is pretty straightforward. I've got a couple of samples here. So the chest at first is completely locked. Just as you'd expect, it uses the vanilla lock chest feature, so I cannot open it unless I am using a specific item, in this case, this small key here. But instead of just allowing me to open it indefinitely as long as I'm holding this item like the vanilla implementation would do, I can right click on the chest and that will permanently unlock it. Gives a little particle effect and removes the lock, and now I can open the chest with whatever I want as many times as I want, and the chest is permanently unlocked. So that might be the kind of thing that you see in some maybe dungeon crawler games or other games. That's kind of usually how the chest mechanic works. It usually consumes a key like that. So over here I've got another example, but this one uses a loot table. So if I unlock the chest, you can see here I'm getting the loot from the end city chest. This is the kind of thing that you'd find in there. And if I do it again, we will get different loot every time. So I've actually also added a system to easily place these down. So I've got a couple command blocks. You can see them over there. If I control middle click on those and pick them up, I can just place them down just like that, and it will create a locked chest. And just like normal, I have to unlock it, and then as you can see, I got different loot that time. And it's actually cloning a chest from underneath, so whenever I place these down like this, it doesn't really matter what is inside this chest. It's actually cloning the one underneath, so I can really do whatever I want with that. So that is how these work. So now let's get into the command blocks. So in order to explain how these locked chests work, I'm going to go over kind of the thought process behind the creation of this mechanic. So the first thing we want to do is to create a chest which is permanently locked until we right click on it with a specific item. Now that's nice and easy. Minecraft has a built-in feature to do that. We can set block here a chest, and if we give it this lock tag, and then we can provide a string here, and the chest can only be opened by items who are named the same as this string here. So if I set block the chest here, cannot open it until I'm holding the appropriate item. And then I can open it all I want, but only so long as I'm holding that item. As soon as I select a different item or just my hand again, I can no longer open it. So that's step one done. The next thing we need to do is detect when we have opened the chest. The chest needs to know when it has been opened. And to do that, we are going to be using actually loot tables, because the chest, before I open the chest, we're going to give it a loot table. And as soon as I open the chest, the loot table will generate the loot, and then we can detect when that happens. So here I'm going to set block another chest, but this one is going to have a loot table of the bat loot table. And if you recall, bats do not drop anything, so it's actually going to have no items in it. That's not really super important because you don't get to see this chest, and I'll explain why in a second. But I've used the bat loot table because they don't actually drop anything, but it's still a loot table. So this particle here, this cloud particle, is going to appear when this chest has its loot table. But you'll notice that as soon as I open it, the loot table is generated, and this will no longer detect that. So as you can see, this one is here, testing for the loot table here. It's doing a test for block, and then the loot table, the bat loot table that it currently has, so it's playing the particle. But as soon as I open this, it's going to stop playing the particle because it no longer has the loot table. It has already generated its loot. So after that happens, we can then clone in the new chest with the proper loot in it, and we can clear the key from the player. But the question is, which player do we clear the key from? Because in multiplayer, we don't want to kind of pick a random player to clear the key from, because that wouldn't be cool, would it? So what we're going to do is we're going to add a scoreboard objective of the type stat.chestOpened, and that is what we're going to use to track who opened the chest. So we're actually going to test who is holding the key, and then who just opened the chest with the key. And then we're going to clear the key from that player, and that's how we can detect who to clear the key from, so we don't clear it from the wrong player by accident. So that is how this mechanic works in a nutshell. But if you want to know in full detail how this works, or if you'd like to use this in a map, then there's a world download which includes the resource pack for the lock and key in the description that you can check out. So here are the command blocks to spawn in the chest, these 5 here, and then this big long strip is the one for the actual unlocking of the chest. And to spawn in a chest, just find the one here with the appropriate direction, control middle click on the command block underneath it, go to where you want to go, and then place it right there. And then the chest that you want to clone in has to be 2 blocks underneath it, just like this. And the direction of this one is important. If I were to place this one here, let's see, let's just get a block. If I were to place this facing this direction, if I unlock it, it's going to face that direction. So make sure this bottom one is facing the correct direction, like so. And then I can place in my locked chest, and it works just fine. And that's all there is to it, guys. So if you enjoyed this video, then a like would be much appreciated, and you can follow me on Twitter at NanoRexMC for more updates. But thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Rex out.